I tend not to be controversial.
Well, I generally avoid politics, but I feel like we're gonna touch on that topic a little bit.
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
welcome to another episode of Stories from a Bar. I'm your host, Chris Osborne. For this episode, I'm hanging out with Sean Jain from San Jose punk rock band Last Ditch Effort. How are you, man?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Good, doing good. I appreciate you taking the time to hang out and chat.
Likewise, man. Thank you for talking to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
It,
I was
it's
just talking about. I've been really digging the band's new EP that came out this February, 2025. That is the
oh,
year it came out, and the name of the EP, 2025.
hmm
Uh, and also how I was admiring the spelling of your name, Sean Sean, because that's Irish, and that's my middle
yeah,
name. And then we got into a fun conversation about that.
yeah, yeah. My middle name is Sean. And actually, my mom named me Sean Sean because uh, she really liked Sean Connery.
Re-
So, yeah,
Scottish.
yeah, yeah,
All right.
yeah, yeah. I don't know. Like, you want to talk about cultural appropriation? My mom is the biggest. Like she does all the Christmas stuff, but like we don't do the church stuff. We just do the presents, and um, she took my name from the Irish
That's
against my
awesome.
grandmother's wishes. Yeah, my grandmother insisted I have an Indian first name. So
What
technically, Sean's my middle name.
what kind, like Native American Indian or
Uh, I guess
Indian?
India. Yeah, I never know
Okay.
what the like if it's South Asian or Asian or yeah,
Yeah,
but
I lose track, but
yeah.
because my it's funny because my father has some Native American heritage in him from like the
Oh,
Cherokee
cool.
tribe. Yeah, because he has like the darker skin tone and like the black hair and stuff. Obviously, it's seeing me on screen, I'm as pale as it comes. So the Irish really uh was the superior, I guess, gene when I was born.
Yeah. Well, you didn't get the. I mean, I don't know. Is do a lot of Irish folks is red hair a prevalent gene in that community? I
So
feel like it is.
my hair came out auburn. Like I was a redhead as a kid, and then it became luckily became more auburn as I got older. And kind of light brownish. But I have the not a real great ability to grow a beard. It doesn't come in super full, but I'm at the point where I don't care anymore because I work from
Hey,
home half the time.
I respect that. I'm the same way. Like it gets patchy, but I grew the beard in COVID, and then when was it? It was like maybe 2001. I think it was after the first round of vaccines. I finally had like the first date I'd had in I don't know, probably over 2 years. And a buddy of mine was like, "Hey man, you have that beard now, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." It's like I've seen the pictures. It looks cool, dude, but you probably want to trim that shit up before this date. So like I went to some salon. I'm like, I guess I got to trim this, and the lady did this really nice trim job. And from that point on, I've kept with it. But I'm like, this is a lot more maintenance than just shaving,
Oh yeah,
everything off every day.
yeah. I don't think I even really tried letting it go that bad until COVID, and I've only done it a handful of times because I eventually get tired of like, how do I even groom this thing?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, like food and the food was
but
the worst.
oh yeah. But I'm at it again, giving it another go. We'll see how long it lasts
Hey,
until
well,
someone
it
starts
looks
making fun
sharp,
of it.
man.
Thank you. Yeah, you don't see it up close, but thank you. Uh, as I like to do when I'm recording from home and not at a brewery, I want to shout out a local brewery. I like to have a beer when I do these. Um,
Nice.
so I'm drinking a brewery, Common Roots Brewing Company, that's up in Glens Falls, New York. Their Pacific Pulse West Coast IPA, which is delicious. And I went West Coast because you are on the West Coast.
Thank you. And I do this a lot in life where I'm like, I have an idea and I just like, and then the moment happens when the idea would have come to fruition and would have been a great idea. And I'm like, God damn it, why didn't I do that? And I was listening to one of your earlier podcasts and you did this and you had like the beer intro, and I'm like, I should go and get a fucking beer for this. But it is 9 a.m. on a
I mean,
Saturday.
it's Saturday though, so I mean,
Yeah, yeah. And the thing is too, is I was like, I had this grand plan to like
and to be
fuck
fair,
around.
it's noon for me. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, which is totally,
yeah.
I mean, if I'm being honest, it's not like time has stopped me from drinking at 9 in the morning before. So, um, but and yeah, I had this grand plan to like fuck around with like I got this little synthesizer called the East Beast. Uh, and I have this little drum machine. I got them on Reverb. I've never fucked around with like electronic stuff. And I was thinking today, I'm like, I could do this podcast. I could drink a beer while doing it, and then just start fucking around with electronic music shit. Um, but yeah, then I was
Yep.
like, no, I got to get stuff done today. Maybe later.
There's always later. That's what's great. Also, I want to give a shout out to Josh over at Trashed Ambulance and Industrial Mustard Media. Fantastic name for getting us in touch. Cool guy. Check out.
Yep.
So
Yeah. Thank you,
he,
Josh, who's also from Red Deer, like
yeah.
the city that I was born in.
Oh, okay. Nice. So you're from Canada? Because I
Yeah.
know you're in San Jose. I was gonna ask if that's where you've been your whole life. But so how'd you end up in
No.
San Jose from Canada?
Well, so I was born and raised in Canada. I moved. My family wanted. My mom does not like the snow, so they wanted to retire
That's
in a
fair.
warm climate. And my dad's eldest brother lives in Houston, so they retired down there of all places. And yeah, in 2007, I was trying to get into like graduate school, and my grades weren't great, so I found a school in Texas that would take me. So I went down there, and then in 2019, I saw a job posting out here in California, and I was like, "Fuck it, I'll try," And I landed it, and now I'm just never going back to Texas. Well, I probably will, but I don't want to.
That's fair. I've only been as far west as Colorado, and I've only been
Really?
yeah. Being in New York, and I've been to Montreal a couple times. Once for a bachelor party a number of years ago. Montreal is fun, but I'd love
Yeah,
to explore more of Canada. Honestly, I really want to go to Nova Scotia and check that out
yeah,
because that looks like a really cool place.
me too. The farthest east I've been in Canada is Montreal,
Nice. Yeah, we
but
had some
where
good
in New
times there.
York are you from?
Albany, so
Okay.
capital of the state. What's great about where I am is New York City. It's about a little less than a 3-hour train drive or
Mhm.
train ride, not drive. Boston, 3-hour probably or drive. So and well, Buffalo's like 4 hours, but Toronto's
Mhm.
right above that. So Toronto is in Ottawa or even weekend trips if I ever get motivated enough.
Have
And
you
for
always been in Albany?
Yeah, I lived in South Carolina for a while. So I'm
Mhm.
from this area. Lived in South Carolina when I was a teenager and ended up coming back. Uh, Still living at home at the time with my family and stuff like that. So I've been up and down the East Coast a little bit. I have some family in Colorado. That's how I went out to Colorado the one time.
Mhm.
Uh, My brother down in Alabama. I haven't been to Alabama yet. Alabama scares me. Uh,
Yeah, I don't think I've been there either.
uh, but you're
Yeah.
playing guitar in last ditch effort.
Yes, sir.
So, what got you interested in music to begin with?
Um, Geez, that's a great question. I don't know. The story that my mom tells is that, when I was younger, I guess it was raining and I was sitting by the window. She's like, what are you doing? I'm like, Mommy, Michi, Michi, which was how I would say music. So I don't know, maybe my brain genetically had some what's the word? Maybe proclivity. I think that's the word. But what's weird is that like there's not a like no nobody in my past generation family was into music, but yeah, it was I guess I was always really into it. And then um in when I was 15 years old, what really poisoned the well musically, so to speak, was when I was 15 years old. We were in some market, and there was a tape that was Megadeth's Countdown to Extinction, and I didn't know what this was, but like I looked at the name Megadeth and I looked at the cover art, and I'm like, oh, I want to, like, mom, buy me this tape. And that fucking tape, man, I just sit and listen to it for a week straight, like on repeat. And then from that point on, it was like loud guitars, drums, and a guy that sings like this.
It's
I
funny
can't do
being
it, but
I wasn't I remember I have an older brother that luckily was there when my dad was trying to force country music down my throat whenever we'd go anywhere. My brother would came in with the heavy metal, and that's how I,
Nice.
got me into Ozzy. I was never into Megadeth that much, but we have a newer radio station that just started a little over a year ago in the area that plays Megadeth, like the 90s, 2000s hard rock and stuff. And Megadeth's on a lot of the time now. I'm like, all right, I appreciate this more now than I did when I was younger for sure.
What
But
like what would you say is like your go-to music?
uh it's funny you say that because I was gonna bring this up. I think when I my first okay, so one of my first CDs was Green Day's Dookie.
Nice.
And when I was looking into Last Ditch Effort after talking to Josh the first time, reading the bio, you guys referenced Punk-O-Rama, and I'm like, holy shit. I forgot about that. And because my brother had that CD when I lived in South Carolina. Uh, I lived on the west side of the state. He was in the military, so he lived over in Charleston on the east side for the base and everything. And he picked me up, or at some point back and forth, he introduced me to those Punk-O-Rama CDs, and that changed my world. I think that's the first time, like,
Nice.
I had started getting into punk music at the time. Like I said, Green Day. Then I
Mhm,
got a little into Blink and the Offspring. But you're
mhm.
talking about bigger punk bands at the time for what it was. Punk-O-Rama was the first time where I'm listening to it, and I just got kind of engulfed with bands that I felt like had a message and stuff like that,
Mhm.
as opposed to all the radio rock I had really heard
Yeah.
up to that point. So I knew as soon as I read your bio, I'm like, I'm going to be into this.
Yeah, it's funny, like, in, so, like, I guess I graduated high school in 1999, and that was right around the time that I think, like, all my friends that were into punk were really into like, that's when I think Dude Ranch had come out around that time,
Yep.
and everybody was listening to it, and I was really into metal at that time, and I thought, like, I would listen to whatever, I don't know, probably Damn It was the first song I heard. I'm like, "This is lame." Like, I'd rather listen to Typo Negative or some shit like that. Um, and then so I just thought it was lame. It was pop punk, And then fast forward to the fall of '99, and I was actually my first year of university was at McGill in Montreal, and my roommate was from Vermont, and he was a sick guitar player, and he was really into like ska punk, and so it was crazy. Like one day he started playing this Less Than Jake song called Ninth and Pine.
Great one.
And I mean, that literally just changed everything because it's a short song, but the instrumentation is perfect. Like the guitars, the horn lines, the bass, like during the breakdown, like do 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 do, and yeah, that really opened my eyes. And then right after that, one of my best friends from high school like was always into always talking about how great Bad Religion was. So I was like, okay, well, this Less Than Jake stuff is cool. Let's check out what this Bad Religion is all about. And like I got real like I cracked open Suffer and started looking through the lyrics, and I'm like, Jesus, I don't even okay, I guess I got to get a thesaurus, and a dictionary. And that was like from that point on, I'm like, oh, this isn't just music to talk about girlfriends.
Hmm.
Like this is thinking people's music.
Yeah. Hello Rockview, man. I still throw that on every once in a
Yeah,
while. It's such a great album.
my,
Bad
my
Religion.
all-time favorite song is last one out of Liberty City.
Yeah, there's not a bad one on that album for sure.
Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned Bad Religion. I finally like they were on my bucket list for so long to see live, and I finally got the opportunity somewhere between a year and 2 years ago. They came to Albany, and they like have never played Albany, and they
Really.
played. Yeah, Albany. Like Albany's the capital of New York, and we get a lot of great shows.
Mhm.
Um, Plus a great local music scene. Shout out to them.
Nice.
But I don't. There's just it's weird. We don't get like everybody hits New York City on their
Mhm.
tours. Nobody comes up to Albany like the bigger acts and things like that. But yeah, that was the one and only time I've seen them, and they still sound awesome, despite being
Yeah.
as old as they are at this point. Like they crushed
Yeah.
it. Like I was surprised how great they still sounded.
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah, I try. It seems like I end up seeing them almost every year, because they're it's just it's I don't know. It charges my soul batteries, to see
Hmm.
those guys up there, and frankly, Greg, like, not to like, as an interesting segue to like current world affairs, like Greg Graffin, their singer, who lived. It's funny you say you've only they don't play Albany because he actually lives in upstate New York. Um, but he wrote this book in 2015 called Population Wars, which is all about like it's like, I mean, so he's an evolutionary biologist, and it just this his view on like competition and coexistence, and like populations when they come into contact with each other, the push and pull, whatever what happens throughout nature is equilibrium. Like, you don't exterminate the other, you end up finding a balance with the other.
Hmm.
And that's been really helpful to like look at the current state of at least American politics, and sort of trying to remove the emotion out of like the reactions to the daily news cycle, and at least attempting um to be willing to keep an open ear,
Yeah.
although it's hard because, like, how do you how do you find equilibrium with the rationality, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
um
It's
but
I
it
mean, yeah, it's tough watching the news and everything going on. I just shake my head whenever I see a new headline that just
Yeah.
sounds more ridiculous somehow than the last one. Uh,
Yeah, and we're what is it, it's only like 2.5 months.
yeah. Uh, I will get more into that, but so you got into music. When did you start playing guitar?
When I was 14.
Okay.
And the fact is, there was a friend of mine that was really into music, and he was going to play guitar, and so I was like, "Oh, I want to play guitar too." Um, so yeah, I was 14. There was a place in the city that I grew up in called Guitar Works, and my mom took me there. I think it was for my birthday, and like I got a Squire Stratocaster,
Nice.
took it home, and the first thing, like, come as you are, do 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 do, like, yeah. And then from that point on, it was like, oh, this is great. Like, I'm always going to do this.
So as you played, you got better. How did you end up? Were you in other bands before Last Ditch Effort?
Yep. Yeah. So I think the first attempt at a band I had was, well, actually, like in high school, there was these two brothers that would take the bus with me, and one played drums and the other played bass. And so for pretty much all of high school, a couple times a week, we just go over to their house in their basement and just jam for hours on end with like, two or three notes. But you know, and then over the year, like, right after I graduated high school, I got into a band in Calgary where I grew up. Um, got into a couple bands. One which was kind of, we got some notoriety, called Inventing the Wheel. Uh, and then yeah, I kind of quit until I moved to Fort Worth in 2007, um, for graduate school, and then I found, I was getting bored with everybody around me, so I got on. I think it was Craigslist. Yeah, it was Craigslist. I found a band uh, called Uncle Dave's Rock Service that played kind of like Hives style,
Yeah.
like clean guitars, but like turned up on a clean channel, like very high, so that it would start to naturally distort. Um, yeah, just playing with different bands, basically from 2007 till now. It was sort of like in each city I lived in, Fort Worth, Houston, and here, just trying to like find a group of like-minded, middle-aged people that wanted to play music. And it's funny because Last Ditch Effort has now actually been the most prolific band, like 3 years. We're going on four here. Like a bunch of EPs, a bunch of singles, um, and it just keeps getting funner, which
Nice.
is shocking.
Was there a big culture shock for you moving from Canada to Texas? Because that's quite a move. Quite a move.
Yeah, big time. The first thing that was the shock was um, I was sitting in class and somehow the topic of guns came up, and
Shocker.
yeah, this little girl, like little meaning like I'm 5'4", she's probably 5'1". Little blonde girl was like, "Yeah, I keep a loaded 9 millimeter in my bedside table," and I was like, "What?" And then people are like, "Oh yeah, me too. Yeah, yeah, me too." I'm like, "What the? From what fucking goblins? Like, what are you talking? Why would you need that?"
The
Um,
boogeyman, man.
yeah, it's
Is that a
just, I
boogie?
mean, yeah,
Wow.
and then the other funny thing was, so I had some friends in Canada that were like at the time were trying to start a t-shirt company. And so they had come up with these designs. It was like the company it was going to be called Cosmonaut, and it was meant to be like sort of this pop culture, images of like the Soviet space program, like
Hmm.
how they look different than the NASA space program. And I remember, like, so my buddy was like, "Oh yeah, Sean, see if you're any of your friends down there want to buy some of these shirts." So I'm like, "Oh, cool." So I start asking around, and people are like, "Nobody's gonna buy that stuff down here, man. We don't support communists." I'm like, "What? This is a dead. This is USSR doesn't exist anymore." Like, at the time they were, very democratic, not like Russia is now. But yeah, I was shocked. I'm like, really? Like, you care that much about the Cold War to not want to buy a shirt like this? But yeah, that was it, that was my welcome to Texas.
Or a lot of the southern states probably at this point. But so last ditch effort's been going for like 3 or 4 years. How'd the band come together? How'd you end up with these guys?
Well, I was just feeling down about going to work one morning, and it was March, and I'm like, fuck, I gotta do something. I gotta find a band, so I get on Craigslist, and went to the band members section and typed in punk, and I saw Jesse, the singer, had posted like looking to, I think it was like looking to form a punk band, and he was like, "I'm looking to form a punk band in the style of NoFX, Pennywise, whatever." And he had a link to the Bandcamp, and I was like, and it said San Jose, so I'm like, all right, fuck it, let's see what happens. So I reached out and I was like, "Hey man, I'm interested in what you got here, but full disclosure, I'm 41, I got a job, not looking for the touring life." And he was like, "Yeah man, me too. I'm 41, I have a job, like this is weekend warrior shit." And I was like, "All right."
Hey man, I'm
um
41 and have a job too. And I'm
I
still
mean,
doing this.
dude, I mean but it's been, I don't know, life changing for me. Because it's, we started talking, like Jesse and I started talking about like, oh, bands that we like, and he's like, "Oh, check out Red City Radio," and I'm like, "No fucking shit, I love Red City Radio. Here, check out Wilhelm Scream." He's like, "Oh, I fucking love Wilhelm Scream," so basically, yeah, like we connected on Craigslist, and then the drummer Pat, Jesse and Pat had been in a band together right before COVID, and Jesse's actually, like, he's primarily a drum, like he was originally a drummer, and Pat, our drummer, was originally a guitar player. And so like they were in this band. I think they had only played one show before sort of COVID shut everything down,
Hmm.
and at that point, like a couple of band members had moved out of the city, so they knew each other. And during COVID, Jesse had sort of like wanted to learn guitar and learn how to write songs, so he wrote a bunch of songs, and he asked Pat like, "Hey, would you be interested in learning how to play drums and play drums on these songs?" And Pat was like, "Yes, totally." So those two knew each other. So, the three of us met up. We kind of worked, played through the songs. The vibe was good. And Jesse's like, "Okay, cool. We need to get a bass player." So put an ad on Craigslist for a bass player. And Diogo responded, uh, and Diogo, like, I guess he sent Jesse this video of him, like, he's from Brazil, so he sent Jesse this video. Actually, and I've seen it too, of like, he's wearing like, it's like this Hawaiian sort of reggae Brazil happy music, kind of slower. And Jesse, when he responded to Diogo, he's like, "Okay, cool, man, but like, you do realize like we play like punk rock, right?" And Diogo's, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, that's cool. I like Blink 182." And then we met up, and it was just instant chemistry. Like, and so yeah, it was crazy because it was just a random, for me, Craigslist, like, I'm feeling shitty today. I want to not feel shitty. Maybe I should play music
Mhm.
with some people. And yeah, like, I I often think, not often, but every so often I think about like what would have happened if I actually woke up in a good mood that day. Like,
Wow.
you know,
That's really interesting. Or even if, I don't know, you did that a few weeks before or a few weeks after, and then just that specific opportunity wasn't there. It was something else.
yeah, serendipity is a it's a crazy thing, like, I don't know. The
Also,
universe, the universe, I think, I feel like in some way we're all connected, like, and if you, it's, I don't know. And I'm getting into some weird shit, but like the manifesting thing, like
no, man, there's
you know,
sometimes there's something where you're like, that was just kind of meant to happen. And that kind of
Mhm.
sounds like what happened for you. And that's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. No, but it's been great. Like, but yeah, Craigslist, man.
I don't, funny, I don't even know the last time I looked at Craigslist for anything. I keep forgetting that's a thing, but uh, also, I forgot to mention, as I was prepping for the podcast last night, I went down a Punk-O-Rama hole, like rabbit hole, for like
Nice.
an hour, man, just on Spotify, looking up all the albums. I found a playlist that was like all 10 of them, and I'm just sitting there for
Oh,
an
really?
hour. Yeah, just sitting there for like an hour on my deck, drinking a beer and just hitting random.
Oh, yeah,
But I
man,
use
that's awesome.
those albums introduced me to so many bands, and
Mhm.
I think we really lost something when the compilation albums like that came, just stopped, because those stopped in like 2005. Like
Mhm.
Spotify streaming things like that are good for trying to find new bands, but you don't know what you're looking for.
Mhm.
And those albums gave you, I feel like, more specific cuts that would, I don't know, they just opened my mind for me.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
don't get that same
100%.
feeling trying to find bands, and it's still one of my favorite things to do is just to sit down and have a drink and, put it on random, streaming service and try to find something new.
That's cool. Dude, I should do that more often. I've found, so I use Apple Music, and I
Mhm.
find that Spotify's the way Spotify will take you on a journey musically is a lot. I find it to be a lot more like on point than Apple Music, but I've found some stuff recently with Apple Music that's been like, there's this band called Architects out of the
Yep,
UK.
I've heard of them.
Yeah, they have this song, what the hell's it called? Red, I don't remember what it is. It's not, it's gonna drive me crazy. Red, something or another, but it's like I heard this, like, it just randomly pops up on on Apple Music, and I'm like, holy shit. And I'm just like, repeat, repeat, repeat.
Mhm.
What the hell is it called? Seeing Red.
Okay.
Um, yeah, and but I don't know. It's hit or miss with Apple Music, I find.
I, yeah, I wrestle with myself when I use Spotify because I know they kind of dick over artists and stuff like that, but at the same
Mhm.
time, I'm trying to find some new stuff to get into and helpfully, uh, hopefully get them on the podcast one day and help promote them. So I kind of tell myself I'm using it for good at the time.
Look, I
Well, I
mean,
also check out. I also use Apple and stuff like that too. But
I mean, look, for me, the proof is right here in the pudding. The fact
mhm.
that you and I are talking, and and we're not a touring national band that, oh, hey, doggy.
Oh, she got up.
um,
She's been snoring behind me for an hour.
oh, that's awesome. What do you have? Hopefully it's nothing too serious, sir.
Oh no! So when we can't keep an eye on her, so we have to put a cone on her sometimes because she has like a tiny tear duct. So her eye will run extra, and
Mm.
she'll try to rub the hell out of it.
Oh, okay. Cool.
So
That, well,
sometimes,
not cool, but
yeah. So it's nothing serious. But when we can't keep an eye on her, sometimes we have to put that on her
oh
just to
yeah.
so we don't come home and she's like rubbed her eye raw or something like that.
I get that. But yeah, so like, I forgot what I was saying. Oh, well, yeah, the proof is in the pudding that like we're talking, and we look at like the fact that there are people out there that are exposed to our music. Like when Spotify does this end of year summary, right, and like you're
Hmm.
looking at the countries, it's insane that a bunch of weekend warriors can get out there and you know um
Is that crazy for you to see? Because I know Spotify will show you like countries where people are listening to it, and so are you looking at that and be like, "Holy shit, I can't believe they heard it over in like Argentina or something like that."
yeah, I mean, I look at it and um I don't know, that's like another one of those gratitude things, like I kind of think back, I look at it and I smile on the inside and think, like, hey, that 14-year-old kid uh would not be entirely disappointed. um And I think if anything, it's like as we get older, all of our friends are having kids and stuff, and I tell them that I'm like, guys, get them an instrument,
Hmm.
because like it's the gift that keeps on giving, and like now I have a little bit of something to prove to those parents that like this can be a lifelong hobby that can really really benefit your kids throughout their life, and make them achieve some degree of satisfaction that I feel like can get lost in the
Hmm.
day-to-day grind and playing it safe, you know what I mean?
If that is one thing, if I could go back in time and give myself some advice, I'd say get more involved in music sooner because it's going to be a passion of yours later on.
Mhm,
Just like I have a guitar and I have a bass and I pick them up from time to time, but I have never really sat down and put in the time it takes.
mhm.
Uh, it's still on my bucket list one day to maybe perform like one song on stage with a band, not an original song or even just a cover. Like that's kind of on my bucket list. So, and it's weird with my hobbies, I kind of go back and forth. Like I can really, only focus on like one thing at a time. So maybe I don't pick up the bass for a couple months or the guitar because I'm doing something else. I'm like, that's not the way to build up my dexterity. I know, but
Well, like,
I just,
what are some of your hobbies?
uh, other than working full time doing this podcast, which I did take some time off, but I'm getting back into it. I'm trying to grow this.
Mhm.
Talking beer and music, those are like I enjoy going
Nice.
to breweries, and as I tell people, yes, I enjoy beer, but it's not about going to go get drunk. It's I like going to these places, chatting with people, having a drink, supporting local
Mhm.
business. I don't know, and there's something therapeutic in it for me.
You ever
Uh,
thought about brewing your own?
I have, and I'm not going to do that. That's I don't have a desire to brew my own beer.
Fair.
I wouldn't mind being part owner in a brewery, so that is
Okay,
also
okay.
on a bucket list type item. And fucking
Nice.
music, like music's my refuge when I'm having a shitty day or things like that.
Mhm,
It's gotten me through some tough times. Just that feeling you get when you discover a new band that just, you know, fucking
mhm,
hits home like the perfect song. Like my
mhm.
favorite band is Jimmy Eat World. You can see partial poster behind me. Uh,
Cool. Oh,
the
yeah, okay.
futures poster over there.
Yeah,
I don't know if
nice.
you're familiar with Butch Walker. He's probably my favorite singer-songwriter. Does a lot of producing for stuff. I'd check him out. He came from like the '80s hair metal background, so
Okay,
he fucking shreds. But
nice.
his solo albums are super eclectic, like all kinds of music.
Butch Walker?
Yeah,
Cool, I'm gonna quickly add something to my, um, iTunes here. Cool.
yeah. But
Where's he from?
uh, he's from Atlanta. I think he lives in Nashville or Tennessee, somewhere in
Okay.
Tennessee at the moment. Um, but yeah, he's gotten me through a lot of stuff, especially at the hard times and things like that. But I want to talk about 2025. My favorite
Mm,
song on here. Well, I'll get to that actually. So, four song EP that came out in February. Uh, and I think the band's description kind of summarizes the sound for anybody that hasn't heard it perfectly. Kind of a throwback to those epitaph, angry punk rock with a message type songs, and that pulled me right in. How did so did you getting into punk music kind of drive your interest in more of trying to get a message in your songs, or were you already kind of politically motivated, or was that already coming out?
I think, frankly, punk music made me more politically. It made me more aware,
Okay.
of it definitely made me more aware, like so Bad Religion kind of steered me towards sort of the larger social issues, but then, bands like Strike Anywhere, I want to say Anti-Flag, but unfortunately, like, yeah, some bad things happened with that
Yep,
band.
yeah, they had some controversy, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty disappointing, but we don't need to go there. But Propagandy, like, also,
Mhm.
they kind of opened my eyes to, like, the world as I've been spoon fed. The story of the world as it's been spoon fed to me is only, like, history is written by the victors, right? Um, and it opened my eyes to, like, the plight of others. And I think, when it comes to playing music and being in a band, if I like, I'm not I don't write many of the lyrics, but if I were to, I would probably skew, like, political, social, you know, either that or maybe like Dungeons and Dragons, like either extreme fantasy or extreme reality,
That's that's
Um,
fair.
y- yeah, yeah, but, like, yeah, I think it just, because I don't know, it's like it's a relevance thing. Like, I don't, it's I want to know what the singer is singing about, right? And I want
Mhm.
to be able to understand it versus some esoteric topic that I'm like, I don't like. What are you talking about? A person? Are you talking about a girl? Are you talking about, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, but I don't know. Like, I also think there is some, like, interesting novelty to lyrics that are not, that you can't really tell what they're about. Like, I think AFI does that pretty well, where, I don't know what Davey Havoc is talking about half the time, but, like, I can kind of, I don't know, like, you form your own opinion in your head
Mhm.
of what it is,
Do
Um,
you guys so how has the response been to the EP, actually?
I think it's been incredible. Like, we've had a lot of people reach out and say how rad it sounds. I'm very proud of it. Like, usually I don't listen to the stuff that we record just because I'll listen to it and be like, "Oh, I fucked up there. I fucked up there. You know what I mean?"
I
Um,
do that with the podcast when I edit. I'm like, "This is my least favorite part of this is hearing myself."
hey, I mean, hats off to you, man. Like, I can't. I don't know. I'd rather, it's like a set it and forget it thing.
Mhm.
Um, but the response has been pretty good, and I'm very grateful for that, because I'm really proud of it. Like, and especially how timely it came out. Like, the Project 2025 stuff, it is just, we all kind of thought, like, maybe this is hyperbole, like, in the course of the election, like, maybe this is just, exaggeration, but it's like, no, 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 we were warned. Like,
So, I'm gonna share my screen because I wanna talk about the album cover.
mhm. Ah, yes.
So, people that don't know, just walking by, see an album cover or something like that, they may get the sense this is political in nature a little bit. Uh,
Yeah.
so when you guys are writing the songs, you're talking about what's the album cover's gonna look like. We have Trump here, of course, with the spray painted crown, upside down flag, your name across his eyes, and the EP name across the mouth. What was it about this image? You're like, that's it.
Okay, so I think like Jesse came up with this. And I think there was like the theme of the I think 2025, the song kind of really set the theme for it. And I feel like, I mean, I can't speak for Jesse, but I feel like for him, it was sort of like this was right around the time I think he was talking about or acting like being a king, and I think the idea was that
Has that time
let's do
stopped? I'm
what's that? Yeah, right. Yeah, I guess there's like a 2028 hat out there now. But anyways, like, and I think like the idea was to sort of look at the Sex Pistols cover, right? The Nevermind the Bollocks.
yeah.
And I think that inspired like this was sort of our
I didn't even think of that. Now that's all I can see. Yeah.
yeah, that this was I think this was kind of like our take on that, especially for now where like we don't have a monarch that's a head of state, but we have someone that really wants to be a monarch, Um so yeah, I think it was I don't know. I feel like it was a lot of lightning in a bottle. Like I think Jesse just sort of it like hit him one day to like, oh hey, let's do this.
Hmm.
And he just came up with that like that afternoon.
Nice. Uh, because people can take politics to the extreme. Have you guys gotten any like crazy responses to like the band's message or even that image just being out there?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
I always get curious when somebody like I love the music, I get the message. It's great, but there's always the person that's like the snowflakes, I guess.
I mean, I'll be honest. I wonder about that too. But I also think that, like, these the rage farms, like, there's so many bigger targets
Hmm.
that they can hit that, like, if I'm like, I think about it like, uh, you know, in the first weeks of this administration, right? I was watching everything unfold, and I'm like, man, like I need to do something. And to me it was like, okay, the biggest thing I can do is write my elected representatives. Like that's the big fish, like I could troll people and start citing facts about how they're wrong about their alternative facts, but it's like that's not going to do anything,
No.
and so I would like to think that maybe that's people's like on the that disagree with the message, disagree with the artwork, that's their philosophy. But I mean, I'm sure they would take offense to it. I know, like when I posted the image on my Facebook, I know that I have some very conservative friends from Texas that I'm Facebook friends with, and interestingly, like none of them commented on it. But I remember in 2019 when so I'm kind of, I don't know, I support the Special Olympics,
Hmm.
and in 2019 there was talk of defunding the Special Olympics at a federal level. And all of the Special Olympics chapters reached out to their supporters, and they're like, please sign this petition, please post this on Facebook. So I posted something on Facebook saying, hey, please call your representatives not to defund Special Olympics, blah blah blah. And then my Texas friends got crawled out of the woodwork, and they're like, oh, we don't believe the federal government should be funding this. And I was just like, man, holy shit. Like, really? uh
You just never know what's going to set off somebody on some kind of tangent, and it's weird.
Yeah, yeah, but those same people didn't say anything about the cover, and who knows? Maybe they're taking a high road, and there's something I can learn from that.
Mm.
Um,
So, what's the songwriting process like for the band? How did this EP come together?
well, usually Jesse will kind of come up with like a large part of the skeleton, because like because he sings, and I think because and he sings and plays guitar. I think it makes a lot of sense for him to kind of like what's he going to be able to sing and play and feel like what feels good from that perspective, and then he'll bring the skeleton to a practice, and we'll fuck around with it. Sometimes it'll be largely in the framework that he brought it to us. Other times it'll be, you know, it'll be changed. But it's largely like he writes a lot of sort of the skeleton and the lyrics, and like we'll contribute ideas here and
Mhm.
there, um, and sometimes riffs too. But yeah, it's like every so often, like we'll jam something out from scratch. But yeah, it's usually like usually he'll come up with the framework and then bring it to us, and then we'll sort of put our parts together and create the final thing. And then
Nice.
sometimes, frankly, like at least on two or three songs that we've done, shit will just change the day that we're recording it. Like, yeah, like get complete like bass parts. At least I know it's happened on two songs where the bass parts have been completely like the day of recording and be like, actually, let's do this instead.
Hey, man, when the mood strikes, you gotta roll with
Yeah,
it.
serendipity, dude.
Favorite song on the EP?
Oh,
I know mine.
okay. You tell me yours first.
Hold on, hands down.
Okay, very cool. Okay, mine is 2025.
That's my second.
Okay, so what is it about Hold On that gets you?
Uh, it's it's the message, I think, in the
Mhm,
song. Getting through the dark days and things like that. Like I the last couple of years, like my mom passed away in 2023. So
mhm,
whenever I hear a song with that kind of message, those are hitting closer to home for me than a lot of the stuff
mhm.
I may be into. So that song just kind of jumped out at me the more I listened to it. Like just top notch stuff. Not I don't know what the song's about, of course. So are you?
I'll tell you.
Yes, I don't
It,
know if
it's
you got
it's
if
it's about it's about Jesse losing his mom.
is it really?
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, I that yeah that it gives me a warm fuzzy feeling to know that like that song that song that he wrote about his mom connects with
Fuck,
you
man.
for that same
That's
reason. Like
exact reason, pretty much.
that's man, see, that's the beautiful shit about life and the world we live in is like when that happens, among other things, but
Like,
nice.
yeah, after that happened, you're just kind of in a fog or in a phase for a while. I wasn't listening to music. It took me a couple weeks. And then I just kind of randomly found again, I think I was just sitting there skipping through Spotify or looking up bands at random, and I found a song that kind of pulled me back. This
Mhm.
I don't know if you're familiar with the band Chaser, punk band.
Never heard of them.
Um, they had a song that had a similar message.
Mhm.
Bad times end. There's always light at the end. It just fucking that kind of pulled me out of my funk a little bit, at least briefly at the time.
Mhm.
But that's what I talked about, like music being a refuge for me and like the down times. But yeah, that hold on hit me hard. Uh,
Oh yeah.
2025 was second. What about I like all the songs on this album. What about No Future? How did this one come together?
Yeah, that was another one that like yeah, that was Jesse came up with that one. He'll like it's pretty cool. I'm a little jealous, frankly. Shit will just hit him like one day, like it's literally like lightning will strike, and then one afternoon he'll be like, "Hey guys, I just wrote this," and it's like what just in a fucking afternoon. Like I will have riffs for years, that will I will work on them for months and months and then abandon them, and this it will just hit him like that. And yeah, the solo, that like the one part about that song that I think was that I wrote was the solo, and that came together Christmas Eve. Like Jesse was like, "Man, we got to get a really good solo for this." I'm like, "Okay, okay," and I'm not a fucking soloer. Um, I'm trying to get better. And we were driving to my uncle and aunt's place for Christmas Eve dinner, and I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna take a different approach." So I'm listening to the song, the skeleton over and over again, and then I started to hum out like, "Here's how I feel this solo should flow. And I hummed it out and I recorded the hum. And then I spent 2 months trying to actually turn it into like trying to get my fingers to do it. Um, but yeah, like yeah, that one. I'm trying to think if we. Yeah, and then I also remember like the bridge. Like we were fucking around with the skeleton, and there was no bridge. And I think like we were sort of. I'm pretty sure it was like him and I were just fucking around with it, and I kind of came up with that riff, like that do 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 do
Mhm.
do 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 do, and he was like, "Yes, yes." Um. So yeah, yeah, it was that was cool.
Nice. Of course, the fourth song, or well, third in the list, but the other song we haven't talked about, "Short Fuse," which is fucking energetic. Uh,
Oh man, that one's funny because so I'm pretty sure Jesse, like I went to go see the second to last No Effects show in Los Angeles in
oh
October.
man,
Yeah.
I will say
And
I at least got to see them one time. I saw them in Atlanta, an outdoor
okay,
concert. I got an El Jefe pick he threw into the crowd. So
nice.
I
You
still
still
have it.
have it?
Fuck, I don't know where it is now. Shit, I gotta find that. Like I dug it
That's
up
awesome.
literally like within the last year just to take a picture of it, and now I don't know where I put it. It's in this room somewhere.
Okay, okay.
I have a piece of NoFX history in this room somewhere.
Then just don't vacuum until you find
Yes, it's blue.
it. Yeah, that's awesome, dude. Yeah, like it was funny because so Jesse came, he wrote it and he sent it to the group, and I was like, oh, I was with my best friend at the time. We were driving from Joshua Tree to LA, and I was like, oh shit, Jesse wrote a new song, cool. Um, and then I forgot, like over the course of that weekend, I forgot that he wrote it, and we got to it. We get into a practice, and like a couple weeks later, and he's like, oh, and he wrote actually, I think he'd come up with No Future. Well, we had like three songs at that point. Actually, all three songs, and and Short Fuse was the last one. And so like we practiced those three, and I completely forgot about Short Fuse. And then finally, I was like, oh shit, I gotta learn this. And I fucking listened to it. And I'm like, holy shit, like this thing is blistering. Where the fuck did this come from? And why did I completely forget about it? Yeah.
Awesome. Serious question time. So when people listen to last ditch effort music, let's say, what would you hope they take away from it? Somebody that's experiencing this EP for the first time.
Hmm. I guess comfort. It's a weird thing to say, but comfort, especially now, like this, you know, maybe the sense that like if you're feeling that things are, you know, things that politically in America are really fucked up, like you're not alone.
Mhm.
Um, us old farts, you know, in our entering our mid 40s, getting ready to schedule annual colonoscopies.
Hey, no, that's 45. I got 3 years to go. I'll be 42 in a
Uh,
couple months.
I've got one. I'll be 44 next month, so I got one more year. But you know
Okay.
that we feel the same, you know, and I would hope that like yeah, I hope would bring the comfort that you expressed as the refuge, you know.
That is crazy about the Hold On and what that was
Mhm.
written about now. Like, that's insane. Yeah.
I mean that's special to me, man. Like I would just yeah, comfort and like and just the same feeling that feel when I hear a song and it's I mean, there's been times in my life, like, where I'll be in a new city and I won't know anybody, and I'll put on, like, Less Than Jake, for example, and I won't feel alone, you know?
Mhm.
Um, and, like, music plays such a big role in my life, but, like, that's always that is the one feeling that feel it's the most powerful when you need it, you know? To not feel alone, and I would hope that people feel that way or angry, you know, like like fuck these people, like, but like take out your anger in a constructive fashion, you know,
Yeah.
let your elected representatives
No, that's great.
kind of, yeah.
One fun question to wrap things up. Let's say this wasn't just a weekend warrior thing, that you guys are blowing up, planning a worldwide tour. What's
Yeah.
this tour? Who's your dream tour mates? Like, what's your ultimate
God.
tour look like?
Propaganda and Bad Religion.
Oh, all
Mhm.
right.
Yeah. I think it would that would it, if I could, even if we could just play one show with one of those two bands. I mean, keep saying this because frankly, like, you know, a bus could hit me today and I would be like, sweet, I got lucky. But like that's also like if we played a show with one of those bands, it would be like totally fine. Bus, you can hit me. I'm cool. We're square.
Well, I mean, that's a great perspective, I guess. So you're kind of living out your dream, and
Yeah.
you've achieved a lot of stuff you've wanted to achieve. So that's awesome.
Yeah. It's I think it's been fun, man. And it keeps being fun and it's inspiring. And you know, the one of the best things about this band is that like it's made me a better musician. Um Fun fact, so 25, the solo in that song was actually it was originally written by our drummer Pat, like before I joined the band in like 2021. But then like, and I could never play it. Like I like that Pat is an insane guitar player and I could never play it. And like for 3 years I had been trying to learn how to play that solo.
Wow.
And on the record, I was on the EP. I was like, you got to play it. Number one, because you wrote it and it's inspired me. But number two, there's no way I could fucking play this thing on the, you know, like you play it. But like playing it live now, I'm all, you know, I can kind of fake it, you know.
Mhm.
But even still, like it's so rewarding that like, man, I couldn't do that 3 years ago, you know,
Oh, that's
and it's
awesome.
because of this band. So yeah,
Oh, that's great. It sounds like you guys really challenge each other to just up your game.
yeah, yeah. It's fun, man. I would encourage every listener out there to and you, Chris, pick up the noodle machine.
I got it. Yeah, I want to get back into it. I'm getting to the phase where I'm getting the itch to just pick it back up and keep going again. So
15, 20 minutes a day. You
yeah,
know,
I
that's
know. Just even if I'm working on finger strength and stuff like that, something.
yeah,
But I
yeah.
think that's gonna wrap up this episode of Stories from a Bar. Sean from Last Ditch Effort,
Cool.
thank you so much for hanging out, man. It's been
Hey,
great
thank you
chatting with you.
for likewise, man. Thank you so much for doing this. And yeah, if you make it past Colorado, uh, you know, if you get
And
to
that
San
again,
Jose,
another bucket list item is to check out California. Actually, one of the things I really want to do is take a cross country train trip in like a sleeper car and just
oh hell yeah.
that's kind of on the bucket list too, and just kind of see everything as I make my way to the West Coast.
Dude, final thought. Like, I remember during COVID, I was driving from here to Houston for Christmas, and like, I remember driving down through I think it's I-10 in the high desert, like heading east from Los Angeles, and seeing the Amtrak, and it looked like the most incredible experience. So,
Like just taking the train from Albany down to Manhattan, you see it goes along a lot of river and stuff. You see a lot of cool shit. I'm like, I want to do this cross country, but I need my own cabin.
fair, fair. Well, if you ever make it out to San Jose, man, you've always got a place to stay.
Awesome. If you're not doing it already, go follow Last Ditch Effort social media pages. Check out their tunes. You're missing out if you haven't done it yet. Also, follow Industrial Mustard Media while you're at it. Anything else you want to throw out there?
No, thank you, Chris, and thanks to Trash Ambulance for setting this up. And hope
Awesome.
everybody has a great Saturday.
Huge thank you to everyone out there for checking out the show. You can follow Stories from a Bar on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at Stories FAB to keep up with everything going on. You'll find Stories from a Bar on all major podcast platforms. Be sure to like, subscribe, leave fantastic reviews, share the hell out of it. Until next time, cheers.
Sweet. Thanks, man.